getting off the highway and heading into Sturgis, Indian this morning to pick up a 23 Indian Pursuit.
Turn right.
Hopefully we're going to be able to get an interview this morning. But when we get there, stay tuned. Alright, so here we are inside the dealership, and our luck, the lady who normally does their PR and advertising was out sick today, so they told us we could take a look around and video and show you some things. So here we are taking a look at this new 24 FTR, which stands for Flat Track Racer. And this is number 102 out of 400. Then next up, we have this 24 Slate Gray Chieftain. While we're walking around and showing you the bike, we'll tell you that this here is their new 22,000 square foot facility that was completed in July of 2015 and opened its doors in August in time for the 75th Sturgis Rally. They were across the street, which we'll show you here in a little bit, in a 5,700 square foot is when they started selling Indians again in 2014 until they got this facility here completed. This is where they do the service work, have all the Indian clothing, parts department, and a very large selection of new and used bikes, which we'll see when we walk outside. All right, up first here, we get outside. This is to look at a 23 Scout. Next to me here is another FTR. And there's another Gray Scout on the end we're going to take a look at. And then there will be a couple of Chiefs, which are also 23s. And then we're going to walk down and take a look at the brand new 24 Indian Pursuit. So for those of you who are checking out my channel and like looking at the bikes, but maybe not familiar with Sturgis and Indian, in 1936, a guy named Pappy Hoyle purchased the Indian franchise, started selling Indian motorcycles here in Sturgis, South Dakota. And that same year, there wasn't a riding community or much of a riding community, so he formed a group called the Jack Pine Gypsies. Here's that 24 Pursuit too that we're coming up here to take a look at. You can tell more about it while we're letting you walk around it. But in 37, Jack Pine Gypsies became an official charter of the American Motorcycle Association. Pappy Hoyle, being a motorcycle racer and promoter that he was, started trying to figure out ways to draw attention to his dealership, to his motorcycles, to his brand. So he decided in 38 they were going to host a race. And that year he had 9 members of the Jack Pine Gypsies enter a race. There were about 200 spectators come out and watch the race, and it was called the Black Hills Classic. That was 1938. In 39, they had about 800 spectators, and I believe they had 18. I have to look that up. I'm not 100% sure about it. I think they had around 18 racers in 39. But anyway, the event continued to grow. In 1940, it became a 2-day event. They had 5,000 attendees and about 150 racers. And then it continued to grow, and Pappy ran his local dealership until 1953 when Indian went out of business and then went to selling Yamahas. And continued his dealership. I believe he owned it right up. I had a little trouble finding a little information about that, but I believe that he owned that up until he died in 1984. And I believe it was just a local Yamaha Polaris dealership type deal until 2014, like I said earlier, when Indian came back out here. And they started in the building I'm going to show you here in a minute across the street in the 5,700 square foot facility. And then in 2015, they moved to this bigger 22,000 square foot location that we're going to now. And as you can see, they got a big warehouse there filled with new and used motorcycles all out front here. And definitely have quite a selection for you to be able to come take a look at. Come on down to Sturgis, South Dakota, and check them out. Here we have a 1913 Indian Twin. After launching the lightweight Camelback in 1901, in 1907 Indian introduced its first V-twin powered road-going motorcycle. In 1911, Indian took the first 3 places in the Isle of Man road race. Indian was the world's largest motorcycle manufacturer in 1913. In 1914, Irwin Cannonball Baker set a cross-country record on a machine very similar to this 1913 Indian. This one here is a 61 cubic inch with a magneto ignition, has a primary and final chain drive, pedal crank to start, leaf springs front and rear, wheelbase of 59 inches, and a weight of 355 pounds. These early board track racers would go up to 100 miles an hour with no brakes. In the very first video I put out, I believe it was, I had said that I was a Harley guy, which I own a Harley, I'm a Harley guy. But I said I will ride with anybody, and I admire and appreciate all good-looking, beautiful bikes. And the next 3 bikes coming up here are absolutely amazing. This here is a 1928 Indian Ace 4. They were produced from 1928 to 1942. These were based on the Ace motorcycle, which Indian bought as part of the Ace assets of the Ace Motor Company in 1927. They ended production in 1942 because of the war, and after the war, when they resumed production, they did not resume it on the 4s. I think it's a shame. But these are definitely awesome bikes. Alright, here we have our feature bike. However, I said that before I knew that I had that Ace over there, that 4 that we just got done doing. Otherwise, that probably would have been our feature bike. But this is still a very beautiful, good-looking, nicely restored 1928 Indian Scout. The Indian Scouts were made from 1920 to 1949. This is a 101 Scout built from 28 to 31. And it has been said that it's the best Indian ever made. The Scouts rivaled the Chiefs as Indians' most important model. The second line of Scouts with heavier frames was introduced in 1932. There were 2 Indian Scouts made, the standard with a longer wheelbase and a police special, which was made with a slightly shorter wheelbase for improved maneuverability. This particular bike here, I got to talk to the buyer and found out that it was set up, started, running, put together to run in the 2021 Cannonball Run event. However, because of COVID, the event was canceled. The guy who set it up took it back, did some more restoration, restoring it back to original condition, and then decided to sell it. So we got to move it and deliver it to the new owner. In 1920, the original Scouts had a 37 cubic inch engine. A few years later, they went to a 45 cubic inch engine. The production cost ate into the profit of the hugely popular 101 Scouts, which we just did, that ran until 31, so heavily that the DuPont family, who had purchased Indian in 1930, sought to improve and sync production, starting with common frames that meant the 101 Scout was out. Instead, the company made a few early efforts like the Pony Scout and the monoplane models. And by 1935, they had settled on the Junior Scout. This here is a 1937 Indian Junior Scout with a 30.5 cubic inch side valve V-twin, 2-cylinder, 998cc with 55 to 60 horsepower.